Most of us read this parable and come away with a motivational message. Use your gifts. Don't waste your potential. Work hard. God has given you abilities. Don't bury them. And that is not wrong. But it is so far from the full weight of what Jesus is saying that it might as well be a different story. Because this parable is not just about your gifts, it is also about fear. And what fear does to a person who has been entrusted with something that belongs to God. Let's study it carefully and pray to Jesus for more understanding. Matthew 25:14. Jesus is in the last week of his life. He has entered Jerusalem. The crucifixion is days away, and he is teaching his disciples about what the kingdom of God looks like, not in its arrival, but in its absence. What does it look like when the king has gone away and has not yet returned? This is the third parable in Matthew 25. All three are about the same thing, the period between the departure and the return. What happens in the in-between? What the absence of the master reveals about the servants, the parable of the 10 virgins, the parable of the talents, the sheep and the goats. All three are asking the same question in different ways. What are you doing while you wait? Now, the parable. Again, it will be like a man going on a journey who called his servants and entrusted his wealth to them. To one he gave 5 talents of money, to another 2 talents, and to another 1 talent, each according to his ability. Then he went on his journey. First, what is a talent? Because most people read the word talent and hear what we mean by it in English. A natural ability, a gift, something you are good at. And while the principle of the parable does apply to gifts and abilities, that is not what the word means. A talent in the ancient world, talenton in Greek, was a unit of weight, and when used as currency, it referred to a weight of silver or gold. 1 talent was approximately 6,000 denarii. 1 denarius was a day's wage for a common laborer. Do the arithmetic. 1 talent is roughly 20 years of wages. The man going on a journey did not give his servants a small test. He gave one servant 5 talents, 100 years of wages, another servant 2 talents, 40 years of wages, and the third servant 1 talent, still 20 years of wages. He handed them an extraordinary amount before he left, and then he went. The man who had received 5 talents went at once and put his money to work and gained 5 more. He went at once, no deliberation recorded, no planning phase. He took what was entrusted to him and immediately put it to work, and he doubled it. So also, the one with 2 talents gained 2 more. Same pattern, same faithfulness, same result proportionally. He started with less and ended with less, but the ratio is identical. He doubled what he was given. But the man who had received 1 talent went off, dug a hole in the ground, and hid his master's money. And here is where the parable does something that most readings miss, because burying money in the ancient world was not an unusual or obviously foolish thing to do. It was actually a recognized method of safekeeping. The Talmud, the Jewish legal writings, explicitly states that if you bury money entrusted to you, you are no longer legally liable if it is lost or stolen. Burying was, by the cultural standards of the day, the responsible option. The third servant did not do something careless. He did something cautious. He did something legally defensible. He protected what he was given and made sure he could give it back exactly as he received it. And Jesus calls it wicked. After a long time, the master of those servants returned and settled accounts with them. A long time. The Greek is metadipolin chronon, after much time. This is not a quick trip. The absence was extended, long enough for the market to shift, long enough for trading to have happened, long enough for the buried talent to have sat in the ground while the world moved around it. The master calls the first servant. You handed me 5 talents. See, I have gained 5 more. And the master says, verse 21, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful with a few things. I will put you in charge of many things. Come and share your master's happiness. Read that carefully, because the master does not say, "Well done, profitable servant." He does not say, "Well done, successful servant." He says, "Good and faithful servant." Faithful. The servant did not know he was going to double the money. He went at once and traded with it, which in any world meant risk. Trading meant the possibility of loss. He could have lost the master's money. He chose to act anyway. The result was profit. But the commendation is for the faithfulness, not the profit. You have been faithful with a few things. 5 talents, 100 years of wages, is a few things. The scale of what the master considers a few things tells you something about what he is preparing his servants for. The second servant receives the same words. Verbatim. 2 talents, 4 talents now, the same commendation, different starting point, same faithfulness, same reward. Well done, good and faithful servant. Now the third servant. Then the man who had received 1 talent came. "Master," he said, "I knew that you are a hard man, harvesting where you have not sown and gathering where you have not scattered seed. So I was afraid and went out and hid your talent in the ground. See, here is what belongs to you." I want to stay in this speech for a while, because this is the most important moment in the parable, and it is the moment most readings skip past to get to the master's response. Look at how the third servant begins. "I knew that you were a hard man." This is not a statement about what he did. It is a statement about who he believed the master to be. The servant's action, burying the talent, came directly from his understanding of the master's character. He buried it because of what he believed about the person who gave it to him. A hard man, harvesting where you have not sown, gathering where you have not scattered. He is describing a master who takes credit for things he did not earn, who demands returns on investments he did not make, who expects productivity without providing the conditions for it. If that is your picture of the master, hiding the talent is actually the rational response. Because if the master is harsh and demanding and unreasonable, the safest thing you can do is not lose what he gave you. Give it back exactly as you received it. Take no risks. Make no moves that could end badly. Minimize exposure. And this is why the parable is not just about gifts and abilities. It is about the relationship between a servant and his master, and how the servant's understanding of the master determines everything about what the servant does with what the master gives. The third servant's problem is not simply laziness, it is a distorted picture of God. Look at how the master responds. Verse 26, "You wicked, lazy servant, so you knew that I harvest where I have not sown and gather where I have not scattered seed. Well then, you should have put my money on deposit with the bankers, so that when I returned, I would have received it back with interest." He does not deny being demanding. The master does not say, "That is not who I am." He says, "If you believed that, then why did you do the minimum possible thing? If you believed I expect a return, the least you could have done was put the money with the bankers and let it accumulate interest while you did nothing." The master is not letting the servant off because his fear was understandable. He is saying, even on your own terms, your logic does not hold. Your fear should have produced more, not less. But here is what I see is underneath the master's response. The servant's picture of the master was wrong. Not wrong in the sense that the master is soft and does not require anything, but wrong in the sense that the servant missed who the master actually is. The master who left 5 talents and 2 talents with his other servants. The master who went at once, verse 21, and says, "Come and share in my happiness." The master who is not angry at the first 2 servants for risking his money. He is delighted by it. This is not the picture of a harsh, demanding, impossible-to-please master. This is the picture of a master who trusts his servants with an enormous amount and is genuinely pleased when they act with that trust. The third servant never understood that. He saw harshness where there was generosity. He saw a trap where there was an invitation. And his fear, rooted in that misunderstanding, produced exactly the outcome he was afraid of. Verse 28 and 29. Take the talent from him and give it to the one who has 10 talents. For whoever has will be given more, and they will have an abundance. Whoever does not have, even what they have, will be taken from them. We will look at this principle in the parable of the sower. And here it is again. Whoever has, more will be given. Whoever does not have, even what they have, will be taken. This is not favoritism. It is a description of how the kingdom of God operates. The person who takes what God has given and invests it, who risks it, who puts it to work, who allows it to grow and multiply and do what it was given to do, that person creates capacity for more. The investment itself develops the capacity to receive and use more. The person who receives what God has given and buries it, who protects it, who keeps it safe, who is so afraid of doing the wrong thing with it that they do nothing at all, that person finds that even what they had diminishes, because a living thing that is not used does not stay at the same level. It reduces. And verse 30. The third servant is cast into outer darkness. Outer darkness is the phrase Matthew uses for the furthest possible distance from the presence and joy of the master. This is not a minor consequence for a minor failing. Jesus is serious about this. Now I want to stay in the third servant's speech a little longer, because I think most of us have been the third servant at some point. And I want to be honest about what that actually looks like. The third servant did not reject the master. He came back when the master returned. He gave him the money. He said, "See, here is what belongs to you." He was still there, still identifying as the master's servant, still returning the original gift. He just did nothing with it. And this is the profile of a specific kind of religious life. Not the person who walked away, not the person who rejected God and lived as if he did not exist. The person who is still present, still self-identifying, still there when the accounting comes, but who buried the thing entrusted to them out of fear. What does burying look like in a life? It looks like the person who has something genuine from God, a gift, a calling, a capacity, a role, and who does not develop it or use it or risk it because they are not sure they will do it well enough, who are waiting until they feel more ready, who have heard the word and keep it safe rather than doing anything with it. It looks like the person who has been given a clear prompting to start something, to give something, to say something, to step into something, and who has been sitting with it for years, protected, undisturbed, still in the ground. It looks like the person who is more afraid of doing something wrong with what God has given them than they are committed to doing something with it at all. Fear is what buried the talent, not malice, not indifference, fear. And the fear came from a wrong picture of the master. Let's talk about what a right picture of the master actually looks like, because the parable itself shows you the master in this story entrusts his servants with his wealth before he leaves. He does not give them instructions. He does not give them a plan or a strategy or a guaranteed method for success. He gives them the resources and he goes. That is a picture of significant trust. The master distributes the talents, each according to his ability. The 5-talent servant was given 5 because he could handle 5. The 1-talent servant was given 1 because that is what he could steward. The distribution was not random, and it was not designed for anyone to fail. Each servant was given exactly what they were equipped for. And when the master returns, his first response to the faithful servants is not to audit the method. He does not ask the 5-talent servant how he made the money. He does not require a breakdown of the trades. He simply looks at what has been done with what he gave and says, "Well done." He is not hard to please. He is pleased by faithfulness, by the willingness to act with what was entrusted, by the fact that the servant went at once rather than sitting with the weight of the responsibility until he felt ready. And the reward is not more responsibility as a burden. It is more as an invitation. Come and share your master's happiness. The servant who was faithful with the few things is invited into the joy of the master himself. This is the master the third servant never saw. There is one more thing I want you to notice about the structure of this parable. The three servants are not equal in what they receive. 5, 2, 1. And the two faithful servants are not equal in what they produce. 10 total, 4 total. But they receive exactly the same words. Well done, good and faithful servant. Well done, good and faithful servant. Verbatim. Jesus is very deliberate with his language. If the commendation were about the amount produced, the words would be different. The 5-talent servant would receive more praise than the 2-talent servant. They don't. They receive the same words. Because the measure is not productivity, the measure is faithfulness. And this matters for how you read your own life, because a lot of people are quietly comparing what they have produced with what someone else has produced, measuring their 2 talents against someone else's 10, concluding that they are less faithful, less significant, less worthy of the master's commendation. The parable says that is the wrong measure. The 2-talent servant started with less. He ended with less. He received the exact same words from the master. Because he was faithful with what he was given, he did not bury it. He did not wait. He went and traded with it. What you are given is between you and the master. What the person next to you is given is between them and the master. Your faithfulness is not measured against their output. Here's what I want to ask you directly. Is there something specific, real, that you have received from God that is sitting in the ground, not because you rejected it, not because you walked away, but because you are afraid of getting it wrong, afraid of the cost, afraid of what the master will say if you invest it and it does not go the way you hoped? If that is where you are, I want to ask you to look again at what the master actually said to the servants who acted, not the outcome he demanded, the character he praised, faithful, not perfect, not maximally productive, not brilliant, faithful with what you were given. And I want to ask you something about the master you were picturing. Because the third servant's problem was not the burying. The burying was the symptom. The problem was the picture. A hard man, harvesting where he had not sown. A master impossible to please and quick to punish. If that is the master you are living with. If the God in your mind is primarily a demanding, difficult to satisfy, quick to condemn God, then hiding is the rational response. Of course, you would bury the talent. Of course, you would play it safe. Of course, you would keep your head down and your exposure minimal and hope that giving back what you received is enough. But that is not the master in this parable. The master in this parable trusted his servants with 100 years of wages before he left. He did not give them a guarantee of success. He gave them trust. And when they came back with more than he gave them, when they had taken the risk and acted, he said, "Come and share in my happiness." That is the master, not a hard man, a generous one, who trusted you with something significant, who is not looking for a reason to condemn, who is waiting when he returns to see what you did with what he gave you. And the question will not be, did you succeed? It will be, were you faithful? Leave a word of encouragement in the comments for someone who has been afraid to start something God has put in their minds. God bless you.